Hello and welcome to my channel. Vice Rhino here, Fish Stark over there. I'm going to, I think my first question for you this evening, okay, should probably introduce. Fish Stark is the executive director of the American Humanist Association. And I am actually of the opinion that there is some sort of atheist cabal conspiracy going on here, because we've got the executive director of the American Humanist Association is Fish Stark, and then the president of American Atheists is Nick Fish. So, are there just plenty of fish in the sea?
If I'm not careful, Nick Fish could steal my identity. I mean, I don't know if you've seen him recently, but we kind of both wear plaid shirts. We're kind of both like stocky guys with widow's peaks. Like it's a little bit too much overlap. And then we've got you. You're another animal in the atheist menagerie. So I think honestly, like Nick and I sometimes get CC'd on each other's emails. Like it's mostly fun, even if it's a little awkward, but. Our favorite thing is like playing with the religious symbolism of the fish. It's like, oh, it's interesting. You guys have this on the bumper sticker on the back of your car, and yet here we are, two atheist fish.
Yeah, there we go. There's someone in the YouTube chat who is also named Fish, but it's spelled Fisch.
Fish.
So there we go. All right. So the thing that we are here to talk about is primarily there's some Supreme Court cases that are coming up that the AHA has had some input on.
Yep.
And the one that caught my eye was Mahmoud v. Was it Wisconsin?
Mahmoud v. Taylor. So it's a lawsuit against the school system in Montgomery County, Maryland,
Yes.
the largest county in Maryland where I used to live.
Yeah. So my understanding of this particular case is that currently where it's at, they had oral arguments on April 22nd. And currently where it's at is basically the school district introduced a bunch of LGBTQ friendly books. Didn't really give any guidelines on how to use them. But some people freaked out and said, hey, that's against my religion. You can't expose my children to the existence of gay people. So I'm suing.
Yep. So basically what happened was in 2022, Montgomery County Public Schools said, hey, we're including as a supplement in English language arts classes in elementary school some books with gay characters, and with the goal of, promoting tolerance and making sure that kids know how to treat people decently, regardless of their sexuality.
Yeah.
And originally, they allowed people to opt out. And then after a while, they were getting tons of requests for opt out, many of which were not for religious reasons. And so the school district said, no, you can't opt your kids out of reading these books in school. If the teacher's reading it to them, that's just the way it's going to be. And so you had Mahmoud, who was one of the plaintiffs who is Muslim, alongside other plaintiffs of other religions, who sued and said, this is a violation of my religious liberty. And, they took it to the Court of Appeals, where it was, they were voted down on the Fourth Circuit. So they lost, and they decided to continue wasting their own time and the school district's time and money and take it all the way to the Supreme Court. That's where we are now. It's been argued a ruling could come down. It could come down as soon as tomorrow, because the Supreme Court rulings get released on Thursdays. We don't know exactly when we're going to learn about it.
Yeah. And my understanding is that from what was heard in the oral arguments was that it seems to be it's basically going to be a is this 4-6? No, 6-3.
6-3. Yeah, I mean, anything can happen with the Supreme Court, right? We don't want to say it's over till it's over, but I was talking to our legal director today, and we're pretty sure that this is a case where the religious right is going to win. In a sane society, in a prior version of the court, this would have been a clear loser, right? Because this is establishing a precedent for religious liberty we've never seen before. But it looks like it's going to go that direction. It's not like the charter school case where we just won an important victory last week. There, we were expecting that we very well could lose, but we figured there was a shot that we could win, and we did. But with this, we're pretty pessimistic, if we're being honest. Again, not because we think the law is on their side. It's clearly not. This would establish a completely new standard for religious liberty beyond anything that's ever existed. But like, this court is bought and paid for by right-wing billionaires, and so they're going to get their money's worth.
Yeah, it's kind of depressing. And from my understanding of how they've been operating, is that even when it comes across as a win for things like religious liberty or something that, like, you would think that a right-wing court would want to do the other thing, it's not so much been a win as we're looking for a better case to do this with.
Absolutely. I mean, just as an example, the charter school case last week, we're going to see that come back in a different form pretty soon. We're almost certain. And so it's just, it's a matter of time before they, try a new ways to push their vision of a theocratic U.S. on all of us. And we just have to keep digging in and keep fighting it.
Yeah. So you've mentioned the charter school case. Could you give a quick overview of that?
Yep. So, basically, super brass tacks. The case was St. Isidore versus the state of Oklahoma. So there were some people in Oklahoma who wanted to open a religious public charter school. So that means a school that would be, privately operated, but operate like a public school, and that it would take students tuition free and receive state funding. The state of Oklahoma, the Republican Attorney General of Oklahoma, actually said this is a bridge too far and sued to block it. And the Supreme Court, upheld the existing law that there can't be a religious public charter school in a 4-4 tie, which means 4 conservative justices were for it, which it should have been, 8-0. And the reason it was decided that way is Amy Coney Barrett, one of the conservative justices, had to recuse herself because she had ties to the school. And so it's very conceivable that this could get tried again with another school. She wouldn't have to recuse herself. It would go all the way through.
But for now, it's a win.
For now, it's a win. For now, at least we stave off for the next few years U.S. taxpayers having to fund religious public charter schools.
Yeah. So yeah, back to the Mahmoud v. Taylor case. So this is basically, my understanding is that the parents don't want their kids to be exposed to the existence of LGBTQ people, but that places too much of a burden on the schools to actually allow them to opt out, because
right. Exactly. Like, I used to be an educator, right? Like, I student taught kindergarten. Some of the books that are at issue are books I read to kids as a teacher. And so, like, I can read one of these books on the stream if you like. Like, they are very, very, the families and the lawyers representing them have tried to imply that there's somehow sexual content in the books, which is absurd. Like, they're sweet stories about acceptance that happen to have gay characters. And what the families are arguing is that, that their kids having to be exposed to the idea that there are gay people in the world is a violation of their religious liberty, their free exercise of religion. Now, what would happen if this bill goes through, or I'm sorry, if they win in this court case, is that essentially parents would be able to opt their kids out, remove their kids from the classroom whenever there is anything regarding LGBTQ themes that they don't like. I mean, there's potential here for parents to say, we object to history lessons about people who happen to be gay, or even we object to the teaching of evolution. Mm-hmm. And the challenge for the operation of a school is, like, when a parent can yank their kid from the classroom for any reason, it makes it really functionally hard to teach. When kids are coming in and out of your classroom, one of the effects of this might just be the principal says, hey, we don't have a place to put these kids that are being, like, yanked out of your classroom. We don't have teachers to supervise them during the time you're teaching this book. So we're just going to take the book out of the curriculum. That, I think, is what you'd see the practical impact being in a lot of places.
Yeah, it's kind of a... if this even might offend someone, we've just got to not even do it, sort of thing.
Right. That's,
It's a chilling of speech.
It's a chilling of speech in the school, and it would radically change the definition of religious freedom in America, right? Like, it used to be, or it still is the case, the Supreme Court has said violations of the free exercise clause require some kind of coercive conduct, right? Like, if your free exercise of religion is being violated, you have to actually...
like making students say under God every morning in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Like making students say under God every morning in the Pledge of Allegiance, right? Like, you actually have to be trying to get people to practice a religion that is not their own, or prevent them from practicing their own religion. Merely exposing them to facts about the world that don't comport with their religious dogma is not the same thing as coercion. Exposure is not coercion. It's insane to equate those two things. And if that were the standard, again, you'd be able theoretically to argue that the teaching of evolution is coercive against the right of a young earth creationist to exercise their beliefs.
Well, speaking as a former young earth creationist, I can tell you that the view would be absolutely evolution is fake anyway, so why do we want them to teach it?
Right.
The fact that it's our religious beliefs is just a bonus.
Well, and I think you're going to start seeing, I think, when this goes through, a series of new challenges. If the Supreme Court establishes this new doctrine, one of the things you'll see is parents saying, okay, well, it's unfair for our kid to have to leave the classroom to avoid these materials. Them getting pulled out of class is a burden to them. That's religious discrimination. And so these materials shouldn't be taught in schools at all. That is, the next stage that they're likely to want to go to. And so, we've everything that these people have been doing, right? The religious right has been executing really thoughtfully a massive decades-long strategy to try and transform the country and their image. And we should be very aware what we think the next steps are going to be.
Yeah. Oh no, that's just... Thank you for the redeeming the hydrate stuff. No hats yet. I did warn him about the hats, but
yeah,
you guys have held off for the first time ever. Yeah, I actually we have a number of LGBTQ positive books for the kids at home. That'll be a hat. There it is.
There's a hat.
I poked the bear. Yeah, we have a number of LGBTQ friendly books at home. Probably my favorite is Marlon Bundo, A Day in the Life of Marlon Bundo. That was actually sent to me by a viewer. Are you familiar with the book?
I haven't read it, but I've heard of it. I've heard it's adorable.
It is adorable, and it's got Mike Pence as a stink bug.
That's amazing. That as it should be, as he ought to be depicted always.
Yeah. Thank you for resubscribing, Duct Tape Jake. Yeah, no, it's a delightful book, and it's wild to me that even the LGBTQ friendly books that I've read, I have not come across a single one that's aimed at children that has anything to do with sex or adult content or anything. It's just hey, I'm a bunny who likes to hop around, and this is my bunny buddy.
Right.
I want to hop around with for the rest of my life because that makes me happy, and it doesn't matter that he's another boy bunny.
They have to make things up and fearmonger because their argument doesn't really hold water, right? It's not all these books are, and this is, why we put LGBTQ books in schools, to give kids a healthy sense of respect for the fact that there are people in the world who are different than them. And all these books do, they don't have any kind of adult content. They don't have any kind of sexual content. As you said, sometimes it's, whether it's anthropomorphized penguins or anthropomorphized bunnies, or in the case of the book that I saw that I used to read, it was anthropomorphized guinea pigs, right? It's just recognizing that two people who might be the same gender can love each other, and that's valid. And if, if that threatens someone's belief system, then I don't know what to say other than, you could also say that your belief system tells you 2 + 2 is 5. Doesn't mean we should teach it in school.
Yeah. And it's also fascinating. A lot of the messages in these books are things along the lines of you are a valuable person however, like whatever you happen to be, you're a valuable person. And that's I I understand from the Christian's perspective how that is a message that they might disagree with, because like, no, the Bible says all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. We're all pieces of shit. Everybody is a heinous immoral sinner or whatever. But like, from the humanist perspective, I would like my children to feel valued and loved for who they are.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the, they would love for public schools to teach the doctrine of original sin if they could, to teach the idea that people are just fundamentally broken and need saving or redeeming. But the thing is, like this, you don't, they don't get to go in and write the curriculum to suit their religious beliefs. Just as I don't think we should as humanists. Like, people have said to me, why aren't you trying to get, humanist principles taught in the public schools? I don't think it's any more right for us to do that than it is for them to do that. I think public schools have to be religiously neutral. Parents have the right to teach their kids what they want, and they should, in my opinion, they have a moral obligation to expose their kids to lots of different belief systems and let the kids make the decision. But public schools are not a place for parents to say, I want to pick and choose everything based on my particular belief system. It's never been what they are.
Yeah, I mean, I could see an argument being made that secular humanism is actually not a religion so much as a value system, and it's a value system that everybody should be comfortable with.
Right. No, and I think, in my view, the principles of humanism, critical thinking and compassion and reason, I'd like to see those reflected in the school curriculum, but not because they're humanist principles, because they're right, because it's good for people in a society to think critically and to be kind to other people. Like, that's what makes communities healthy and strong.
Thanks for resubscribing, Rovi. And apparently that triggered a hype train. Sorry. I feel like I'm still new to the Twitch thing. I don't understand it. It just kind of happens.
I'm 100% new to the Twitch thing. This is my first stream,
I've been doing it for something like 2 years now. But
okay, I'm a real newbie. I'm watching. I'm like watching all the little. I'm hoping that people will like unlock all of the things in this call so I can see all the things they make you do.
I think the hats are the worst. But Fennec would like a book recommendation list. I think they were particularly interested in the guinea pig book.
Oh, okay. So the guinea pig book is the one that I would read to students when I was like student teaching preschool. It's called Uncle Bobby's Wedding. And the story, I have it here if like we want to read one of these books on the stream just to show how ridiculous the people saying this is gay porn are. But originally it was done with these adorable illustrations of guinea pigs. And then they did an updated version where they illustrated it with people. It's about a little girl whose uncle announces that he's getting married to another man. And she doesn't feel good about it because she loves her uncle and she wants to make sure that they're still going to hang out and be friends. And she doesn't want to, she doesn't want to lose him. And then she realizes that like, it's actually okay because now she has two uncles and they both love her. And she ends up having an amazing time getting to know this man that her uncle is marrying. And it's a very sweet book. It's simple. And there's, I don't think they even kiss in it. Like, it's just two men who are clear that they love each other and want to be a family. This apparently inspires ire in people. But I've got no idea why, but that's, and apparently it inspires so much ire, they want to take it all the way to the Supreme Court.
I've had a thought. It could be the conservative self-hatred for the things that you like. So it being adorable guinea pigs combined with homosexuality is I'm a furry and gay and hiding it and repressed.
Oh man, well, a hit dog hollers, right? I could see that.
Oh, Fennec is asking for the link. You really want me to Google the link to a book and then send it to you over chat on stream? Come on, Fennec. Why Fennec's always in Twitch.
Yeah. Okay. Fennec found it. Yeah.
Fennec found it. Yeah. We're good. Okay.
Uncle Bobby's Wedding, great book.
Fennec is also demanding story time, though. So if you would care to give us a rendition of some of this horrible pornographic material that was sure to get me demonetized.
I will say it is extremely quick. I can share it if people want to see the pictures, because I would hate it when I was a kid. If I can share my screen, because I would hate it when I was a kid when people would read the book with no pictures. But I can also just read it out.
Okay. Do I have to? I think you should be able to share.
Okay, let's do it. It's like such a send my request. It is the sweetest, simplest, most adorable book. So it goes, Bobby was Chloe's favorite uncle. He took her rowing on the river. He taught her the names of the stars. Once they even climbed to the top of a lighthouse. Let's live here, said Chloe. I'd like that, said Uncle Bobby. Most of all, Chloe loved flying kites with Uncle Bobby. So when Mommy planned the first picnic of the summer, Chloe was as happy as a ladybug. Mommy and Chloe made iced tea and chicken drumsticks, banana bread, and rhubarb pie. Bobby and his friend Jamie brought bottles of fizzy lemonade. So this is, of course, the, absolutely purient and obscene gay couple at the center of the book coming with their picnic basket.
They're interracial, too.
Oh, I know. They hate that so much. After pie, Uncle Bobby and Jamie made an announcement. We're getting married, said Uncle Bobby. Mommy whooped and hugged him. Daddy shook hands with Jamie. Everyone was smiling and talking and crying and laughing. Everyone except Chloe. Mommy said, Chloe, I don't understand. Why is Uncle Bobby getting married? This is the part they hate. Bobby and Jamie love each other, said Mommy. When grown-up people love each other that much, sometimes they get married. Shocker. So deeply obscene.
Mm-hmm.
But, said Chloe, Bobby is my special uncle. I don't want him to get married. I think you should talk to him, said Mommy. Chloe found Uncle Bobby sitting on a swing. Why do you have to get married? She asked. Jamie and I want to live together and have our own family, said Bobby. You want kids? Only if they're just like you, said Bobby. That's a pretty good reason, said Chloe. That's, see, kids can understand this pretty quick, even when they're uncomfortable with it, as they catch on a little faster than religious bigots. But, said Chloe, but what? Asked Uncle Bobby. But I still don't think you should get married. I want us to keep having fun together like always. I promise we'll still have fun together, said Bobby. You'll always be my sweet pea. Bobby and Jamie asked Chloe to go to the ballet with them. Afterwards, they had milkshakes. Jamie imitated the ballet dancers, and Chloe laughed so hard her milkshake went up her nose. Uncle Bobby and Jamie taught Chloe to sail. She fell in the water at the dock, but Jamie dove in after her. Then Bobby jumped in too, and they all swam until supper time. At night, Chloe, Bobby, and Jamie sang songs by the campfire and toasted marshmallows. I wish both of you were my uncles, said Chloe. Well, you're getting your wish, said Jamie. When we get married, I'll be your uncle too. On the day of the wedding, Chloe put on her new dress. Everyone was excited and busy. Uncle Bobby lost the rings. Jamie couldn't tie his bow tie. I mean, that's grounds for divorce, but, neither here nor there.
Well, here's the thing about that. As someone who wears a bow tie on the regular, I've looked up videos on how to tie them, and there's one of the things that bow tie aficionados will do, which comes across as a little pompous to me, is they will purposely tie it not perfectly so that you know that it's a tied bow tie, not a clip-on.
Interesting. Okay, that's a new level of pretension that I wasn't aware of. The most unrealistic part of this book is that Chloe helps Jamie fix the bow tie. Chloe found the rings in Bobby's jacket pocket. She helped Jamie with his tie, and she helped Mommy put the perfect finishing touches on the wedding cake. We're ready, said Chloe. An afternoon breeze cooled the garden. Daisies and violets bloomed in the grass, and the air smelled like roses. Cousins, grandparents, and friends watched Chloe walk down the aisle holding a basket of flowers. She was so happy she felt like doing a cartwheel. Instead, she scattered flower petals all around. And then Bobby and Jamie got married. See, they don't even kiss.
They're so close to kissing, though.
They're so close. That's true. And he's got his hand on his beard. It's also pornographic. That was the best wedding ever, said Chloe. I think so too, said Uncle Jamie. The band started to play. Chloe jumped up and grabbed Uncle Bobby's and Uncle Jamie's hands. They danced until the moon rose. The end. So this is This is what parents in Montgomery County are going all the way to the Supreme Court to protect their child from being exposed to in their kindergarten classroom.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh my goodness. Two people got married and we're happy. How horrible.
Right. It's like, if, I don't know any other way to say it, that, like, if your religion is threatened by the reality that gay people exist in this world and get married and have families, it is not the state's job to solve that problem for you. Like, you don't get to be protected from inconvenient facts in America.
Yeah, that was actually one of the things. I think it was Sotomayor in her dissent. Wait, no, it wouldn't have been dissent at this point yet. But one of the comments that she made was that, like, depending on how broad this gets ruled, and if they rule in favor of the parents, then potentially a gay teacher would not be able to have family photos on their desk at school.
Right, which is exactly what. It's exactly what they want. You've seen gay teachers being fired in places like Florida for discussing their marriage in chaste ways that would never inspire any kind of action against a straight teacher. The truth is, like, the argument that they are trying to make is that being queer is inherently sexual somehow. That, like, or the argument that they make that they're like, anything that is trans is inherently pornographic. And it gets even scarier if we're talking about defining any kind of queerness as inherently sexualized and pornographic, when you realize these are the same people who are also trying to ban porn, right? You've got, it's a very clear strategy. They've even been caught on tape laying it out, where functionally they're trying to lay the groundwork to criminalize being queer, first by defining it as sexual, then by banning any kind of consumption of sexual content.
Yeah, that's it's got some frightening implications. But it is interesting to me how these people who they try to make everything about sex when it's just not, like, it is so not about sex that I managed to go through like 37 years of my life before realizing I was not straight.
Right. Well, and let's talk about this. Like, you've got these people saying, oh, we can't have this pornographic content in our schools. We have to protect the kids. Some of the plaintiffs in this case are from the Catholic Church, which is up in arms over the new law in Washington saying that religious clergy have an obligation as mandated reporters to report child sex abuse. You can't have it both ways. You can't believe there is such an imperative to protect kids from the terrible, awful, horrible thing of seeing two men in a book get married, and also believe that priests and religious leaders have a right to withhold reporting of actual child sexual abuse.
Yeah, no, that is crazy. And we did cover that story, I think, last week. And it's just nuts. Like, how anyone can think they are on the right side of this thing when they are fighting tooth and nail for the right to cover up child sex abuse.
Absolutely. I mean, the truth is that, like, the whole thing, oh, we have to protect our kids' innocence, we have to protect them from groomers, it's all a total bait and switch, right? Like, I used to be an educator, and I worked for a long time in the child mental health and bullying prevention field, right? Like, we've seen the research on what makes kids safe in school, and specifically what protects them from abuse. The things that keep kids safe from sexual abuse is literally the list of things the religious right is trying to ban. Accurate sex education makes kids more likely to resist and report abuse. The religious right is trying to ban it, right? Shame around, like, sexuality and their bodies makes kids more vulnerable to predators, but that's the kind of thing the religious right is trying to institute culturally, right? Like, a culture of unquestioning obedience to adults, again, makes kids more susceptible to abuse and less likely to report it, but that's the sort of thing that the religious right constantly pushes in their communities. It's their policy list and the wish list of child predators are the exact same thing. Copy paste.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a reason. So there are so many sex abuse scandals in the GOP.
Right. Or, look at who lines up to testify against child marriage laws in the states that are trying to ban them. Right. But you've definitely never.
I forget which state it was, but there was one that within the last couple of years, when they tried to get rid of the child marriage laws, they actually said no, and they explicitly said because this law would make some of us criminals.
Right.
Like, okay.
Every accusation is a projection, right? How many Democratic speakers of the House have we had thrown out of office because of child sex crimes? Not any that I'm aware of. How many Republican speakers of the House? Like, Benny Hastert, less than 2 decades ago. Let's be real. Like, all of this nonsense about wanting to protect kids from the evils of gay content is 100% projection.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking of the Democrat scandals and how, like, the first one that comes to mind is Al Franken. He had to resign because he had there was a picture of him hovering his hand over a woman's breast. No touching. Still a yikesy situation that, absolutely shouldn't have done it, but, like...
Sure, but he got goofy with his fellow performer in a comedy show. Sure, he may have crossed a line, but
compare that to, like, Lauren Boebert giving people handies and
God.
Beetlejuice.
Which is also, like, I don't know. You see on my wall, I watch a lot of Broadway. I've got a Beetlejuice. I got Beetlejuice over there. That is not a sexy show. Like,
I mean, it is if you're into certain.
You know what? I guess so. I don't want to kink shame. Like, if you're into, like, the giant weird snake roaming around the stage, or, like, Alex Brightman's, like, throat voice, okay. But I really, Spring Awakening, there's a sexy show. I don't think you could have picked a worse show to get your rocks off at than Beetlejuice.
Yeah, well, I know you're one of these guys that keeps all the playbills from all the shows you go to?
Yeah, this is my fiance and I maintain this playbill wall. We got some new ones.
Put mine on the wall?
If you put up a nice frames,
No, sorry. I am also one of those people, but mine are in a box in the basement.
We've got new ones we have to put up. We just saw Maybe Happy Ending on Broadway. This is not an ad, but it's a very good show.
Well, I don't have very much variety in my Broadway. Well, I haven't been to Broadway, but in my theater experience, I've seen Les Mis like 7 times.
You and Trump would get along on that front. He loves Les Mis and he loves cats.
God, no, don't tell me that. Fuck off.
Hey, listen,
does he know what that show is about?
Les Mis? I don't think the man pays attention to anything. I think he likes that it's dark for a while and nobody tries to talk to him.
I could see that. You know what? I could see it. The musical simplicity in Les Mis is something that might be what appeals to him.
Donald Trump likes all the parts of New York tourist culture, right?
Yes.
Like, Donald Trump is a tourist's idea of a New Yorker. And so, of course, he likes the most touristy musicals. No offense to you.
Hey, I don't like cats.
I actually like cats more than Les Mis. I can get down with a little rendition of Skimbleshanks the Railway Cat. I'm just being real with you.
Yeah, no, I do like the theater. I do. The problem is, I get this thing about me where I need to, if I'm spending enough money to go on a night out of the town at the theater, I have to know that I'm going to have a good time.
That's fair.
So I go to see the shows that I already know that I like, because I'm weird like that.
No, that's a good point. It is a special kind of frustrating to sit through a really bad 2.5-hour plus intermission musical.
Yeah. Oh, I did go see Wicked with my oldest child.
I that's a classic. That's one of my faves.
I was
Although
actually, I had never seen it before, and at intermission I had to look it up to see when it was written because it seemed to be written specifically as a polemic against Trump.
right, no, and it was in fact simply a prediction of
It,
Trump
it
20
was,
years before.
yeah, it was just generic dictator bad guy.
Right. I mean, that, like, in part, right? Like, I've heard a lot of people argue that it's sort of an allegory for anti-Semitism, right? Like, a lot of the early, certainly Adina
Hmm.
Menzel, who originated the role, but a lot of the early actresses who played Elphaba were Jewish. So was the Stephen Schwartz, the writer-composer. And so there was, like, I think it, in some ways, was like a prediction of, hey, here's this climate of, like, wacko anti-Semitism that we're going to be experiencing because of the right movement in America.
Yeah, but sorry, I'm distracted by your playbills now. You see Lion King up there. I have been to Lion
Yeah.
King. That's a good one.
Lion King's a good one. We used to go to the Kennedy Center all the time back when, the Kennedy Center was sane. So that was the Dear Evan Hansen, with the Music Man, the revival with Hugh Jackman. That was a blast.
I have heard of that one. I've heard that it was a blast, but I
He
haven't
was
actually.
really good.
No, so my second youngest child is obsessed with the Lion King, and I'm kind of disappointed in him because he likes the remake more than he likes the original cartoon.
No.
But I had a moment of pride where he went to see the show and he was like, "Nope, this is my favorite version." Be like, "Okay, that
Okay,
is the correct answer. That's an acceptable answer."
there you go. He figured it out. I honestly, the only one of those Disney remakes that I think is better than the original is the Snow White one. And maybe that's because I'm just so negatively polarized against the people who hate it. I also loved Pasek and Paul, who wrote the new songs, who also did Dear Evan Hansen. But like that's the only one of those in my mind that was actually an improvement on the original, rather than like a vapid copyright play.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that one yet. I stopped watching them after I think Aladdin was the latest one that I watched.
Yeah. See, I saw Beauty and the Beast, which was okay, and then yeah, nothing for a while. I was like, I don't see the point.
Yeah. No, it's just redoing it but making it drab.
Yeah, that's about right.
Oh, okay. We should probably get back on top. You know what? I probably should have warned you. Both Cirrus and I are kind of ADHD, so and in my case, like it's actually diagnosed. In his case, it's probably actually, but not not officially diagnosed. So we do get off topic quite a bit.
It's all good. I live with an
Oh,
ADHD person. I love the rabbit holes.
I mean, speaking of ADHD, what do I do with Cirrus anyway? I never mentioned Cirrus is not here tonight because Cirrus is out activisting again. He's at a Democrat dinner thingamajig. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but he did message me warning that he might not be here, and I was like, okay, I'll replace him.
Good. Out saving the world. I love it.
And people in the chat have been saying you look kind of like Cirrus.
I got to look up Cirrus now. I have no idea if
There's
that's. I have no idea if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I'm not going to comment.
Okay. Google imaging Cirrus. Okay.
Suris. You might
Suris.
get better results if you add the skeptic to the end, but
Cirrus the
he
skeptic.
goes by an avatar. Oh, there's a lot of not him. Okay. The result that's like atheist Jeopardy. He's in the bottom left, but that is not a flattering picture of him.
Okay, I get a couple. I can see it though. I can see it.
Oh yeah,
Going to get a big titty cat girl. Yes, I am
yes.
seeing. I'm seeing that.
There's a lot of big titty cat girls for us.
Yeah,
You saw the standby page.
I did see the standby.
That
Yep.
was I think that was Stoff that did the Stoff is in the chat somewhere. Cute Dark Arts. I think it was Stoff that did the image for that, and I liked it, so I yoinked it as the as my stand boy. Stand boy. Is my standby screen.
Standby.
So that's that's me gender swapped and Cirrus just being normal Cirrus, I guess.
There you go. Just two big titty cat girls being big titty cat girls.
The internet is a weird place.
The internet is a playground. That's full of funny sounds and fury.
Yes, fun. Don't say funny sounds. I have a soundboard that has a bunch of Cirrus saying "ooh" on it for no reason.
Oh boy.
Oh, Fennec wants to know if Fish is your actual government name or not.
No, not my actual government name. So my government name is Fortney Hillman Stark III, which is a fucking Republican ass sounding name. And it's not fair. So my dad, Fortney Hillman Stark Jr., went by Peeps his whole life, and then he just gave me the name for no reason despite not using it. So a lot of folks know my dad as the first open atheist in Congress.
Yeah.
But so he was going by the name, and he was like, I could have another Pete, but I'll name him Fortney instead. And so I was getting the shit kicked out of me in elementary school for obvious reasons. Because like a name that's one letter off from Courtney is not good, especially when you're like a very feminine little boy who wears like big horn rimmed glasses, and like reads the Babysitter's Club under your desk. And so I was like, I have to either learn to fight or change my name. And I was self-aware enough to know that like learning to fight was probably not an option for me. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to try and come up with a new name for myself. I took my initials, which were FHS. I was like, oh, it looks a little bit like fish. I was like, that's kind of cool.
God.
Like, that's kind of hip. I bet.
You got your name from a dad joke?
Basically, yeah.
For those, okay, if I'm sure my audience has heard me say this before, but what do you call a fish with no eyes?
Exactly.
And that is one of my favorite dad jokes, to the point where when we took the kids to the science museum and they had the cave fish with no eyes there, they would run up to it and be like, "Look, it's fish." And Fennec says I would have accepted a simple no, but appreciate the lore. Well, I mean, I'm just interested in the fact that Fortney was also a name, because that's not really a name, is it?
So apparently the family lore around Fortney was that so my great-great-grandparents came over from Germany, and my great-grandfather worked in a sugar mill, the story goes, in Milwaukee. And the foreman at the sugar mill's last name was Fortney. And so my grandfather was named Fortney in an act of brown nosing. And and then, so it sounds like I saw somebody say, like, it sounds like you're part of a dynasty. It sounds very aristocratic, but it was like, working class German
Can
immigrants
I have a raise,
trying to
please,
get,
boss?
I named my son after you. Can I have another penny a week?
I mean, I don't know if that's better than my family lore. The spelling of my last name, it is said, is I'm missing a letter from the rest of my family. And it's said that's because we owned our own whiskey distillery out in Scotland back in the day. And when filling out his kid's birth certificate, one of my ancestors was incredibly drunk on his own scotch and misspelled his name. And that is the origin of my family.
That's hilarious. I love that. We should all have Scotch fueled origin stories.
Yeah, I mean, that feels like something that was made up just to fit with the fact that the family is Scottish.
That sounds like the kind of lore a Scottish family would have.
Yeah, like we weren't the tree throwing Scots. We were the Scotch drinking Scotch. Not that you can't do both, but
and at the same time, it's even better.
One can lead to the other.
Oh man.
Okay. So, is there anything else you wanted to talk about the Supreme Court?
Oh my God. I mean, I don't know. It's depressing, right? Like we're we're actively thinking, like, with a Supreme Court this captured, do we mostly stick to state court cases? Because we have a whole legal arm, right, that defends the civil rights of humanists and atheists. And so it's gotten to the point where it's very clear that no matter the merits of your case, in most cases, the Supreme Court has been captured to the point where they're just going to always take the furthest right position, regardless of what the law says. I don't, we're going to need, like, when the revolution comes, we're going to need radical reformation, expansion of the court, term limits, even just getting out the justices like Clarence Thomas, who have clearly been bought by billionaires. In some ways, the best hope for our movement right now is to keep some of our issues out of the court. But as we saw, like, we shouldn't be, fully pessimistic. There are things like Oklahoma that will break our way. I don't feel that optimistic about Mahmoud v. Taylor, but, I think we can. I think what we have to get ready for is to protect against. We have to hope that they rule it very narrowly, that they don't, like, change the notion of the free exercise clause and say, like, oh, actually, like, coercion means this. Because it is insane to, like, the standard has always been that for it to be a violation of your free exercise right, it's got to require coercion. To me, it's insane that the idea of being exposed to information that contradicts your religion is the same as being coerced to believe a different thing. And if they accept that justification, that opens enormous cans of worms that we're going to have to potentially defend on a lot of fronts.
Yeah. So if you could go into a little bit of detail, what exactly does the AHA do with the legal arm? Do you have a team of lawyers that will help representing people, or do you write amicus briefs?
So we do a little bit of both. Yes, we write amicus briefs, but we also take on the radical religious right and sue them directly. So, as an example, we just won a big case last week against the city of Ocala, Florida. So they used public funds to host for the city to organize and put on a Christian prayer vigil at City Hall. And they emailed all the employees and told them they had to come and participate. And we're like, well, that is unconstitutional and you can't use taxpayer money to do that. They got the ACLJ, the big conservative outfit, to help them defend against the case. They tried to bring it up to the Supreme Court, which kicked it back. And we won in federal court in front of a Bush-appointed judge. And last week, we got them to agree to a settlement that basically locked in the ruling that said what they did was unconstitutional as federal court precedent. So we are, we're hoping that, wins like that are still possible, and that we can get more of them. We're certainly, we're always taking suggestions for cases. If you are an atheist or a humanist in the U.S. who feels that you have been discriminated against on the basis of your beliefs, that is clearly illegal. And we would love to, see if we can help you out.
Yeah, the thing that strikes me there is you mentioned a Bush-appointed judge. I remember it wasn't all that long ago that you didn't really talk all that much about who appointed the judge, because the judge is just there to interpret the law. They're not there to uphold the what's it called? God damn it, the goals.
Uphold.
The goals of the person that appointed you, or their
right.
Fuck.
They're not. They're not there to just enact the political preferences of whoever appointed them into law. They're there to say, what is adjudicate disputes? It's based on what the law actually says and what the Constitution requires. And you used to be able to count on the fact that judges would do that whether they were appointed by a Democrat or a Republican.
Yeah,
and now
this might be a conservative judge, but the law clearly says this. And as long as you can tie the law into your case.
Exactly. The judge who ruled on our case was no flaming liberal, but we argued the case well, and it was a clear violation of the Constitution. And so we rendered a verdict that said, the city absolutely cannot host a prayer vigil using public funds. But there are certainly judges that are getting appointed under the Trump administration that would have, seen American Humanist Association on one side and ACLJ on the other side. So I don't even need to know the facts of the case. I know who I'm going with.
Yeah. Yeah, so the whole Trump administration attack on judges based on who appointed them, and it's actually crazy. In a lot of cases, that they'll talk about like the crazy leftist liberal judges, and then turns out the judge they were talking about was appointed by Bush.
Right. I mean, Trump uses words to mean whatever he wants them to mean. A leftist means anyone who opposes him, and even like. The thing that gets me is Trump is like, oh, we're going to bring religion back. Like, America needs religion, but it's just so good. And, like, he's not talking about religion because he called Doug Emhoff. He agreed when his friend called Doug Emhoff a crappy Jew. And he like went on that screed against the Episcopal Bishop Marion Buddy. Like, he doesn't actually respect religion. He's using religion to mean the kind of conservative evangelical Christianity where its adherents support him by like 90% to 10%. And so everything that he does is filtered through a lens of how loyal are these people to my like continued and uninterrupted reign. And so he's not even, he doesn't even want religious supremacy in America. I think, as much as he wants to empower the religious groups that he thinks will most consistently support him.
Yeah, no, if I were to guess at what's going on inside his head, I would suggest that I don't think Trump is religious. I think he probably is an atheist or a narcissist that thinks he is God.
What tipped you off? 2 Corinthians? Like, this guy has clearly never cracked a Bible in his life. It's debatable whether he reads at all. But, this is not someone who, observes any biblical principle. Even the ones, like, forget about, like, feed the sick, clothe the naked. Even like, I am the Lord your God, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Is there anything Trump could subordinate himself to other than his own wealth and Vladimir Putin? I doubt it.
I mean, what's his favorite Bible verse? Oh, I don't want to talk about it. It's too personal. I just love the whole book.
Oh, yeah. No, it's didn't he compare it to a movie? Didn't he do that? It's like a great movie.
I don't remember, but that wouldn't sound surprising. That's the kind of thing someone who's never read the Bible would say about the Bible.
You're right. And you've got like, you've got a bunch of people in his administration who are very much like fake opportunistic Christians, right? Like Elon Musk, known atheist, and then like putting that weird like poem on Twitter about how good religion is for people. Mm-hmm. And like, let's point out like J.D. Vance just decided to be Catholic after being an avowed atheist for a long time, right before moving back to Ohio to run for Senate.
Was he an avowed atheist?
Yes, he was an atheist. When he wrote his book, Hillbilly Elegy, he was an atheist. He converted to Catholicism in 2019, and he was like, oh, well, like, for such a long time, I just thought religious people were stupid. I'm like, I don't buy that shit, right? Like, J.D. Vance, I went to Yale undergrad at the same time J.D. Vance was at Yale Law. Like, you don't go through a whole degree at Yale without meeting plenty of smart religious people and coming to respect them, right? Yeah. Like, if he did his whole degree and he left still thinking that religious people were stupid, like, I don't buy that line of argument. And I think that we see, guess what? A lot of people, like, he started a fake nonprofit right after he moved back to Ohio and to run for Senate, right? Like, this nonprofit didn't actually like pay out any grants or do anything. What's to say he didn't have a fake conversion?
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that he had a conversion story.
Yeah, no, he converted to Catholicism, and he basically was like, I converted to Catholicism because it's really old.
I was gonna say, like, why Catholicism? Like,
right?
Of all the versions of Christianity.
Well, it's because Catholic converts are some of the most insufferable people, and so is J.D. Vance, right? Like,
yeah, that tracks, yeah.
It's he wanted to find his people. I mean, again, like my best friend is Catholic, right? Like I think Catholicism is like, it frankly, like, I love a lot of the things the new pope is saying about like the need to protect workers and care for immigrants and care for the needy. Like there is a strong strain of like social justice and even humanist principles within Catholicism, much as I like disagree with their official stance on, whether clergy should have to report child rape. But like JD Vance's whole thing about Catholicism was basically like, and his whole thing about religion is basically like, he doesn't really talk a lot about God if you listen to him. The whole thing is instrumental, like his belief that like, oh well, like for society to work we need like a lot of order and hierarchy and things that tell people what to do. And religion, basically his whole idea is like religion is good because it tells people what to do.
It's very, very Jordan Peterson-esque.
Oh, it's 100% like it's the same thing, right? Like I don't think Jordan Peterson believes in God either, probably even less likely to believe in God than JD Vance. They see religion as a stand-in for the idea that people need to be told what to do and how to order their lives if we want a stable society. And it's like, okay, you can have your stupid theory, but guess what? Like if you look at any kind of psychological research, actually one of the worst things that you can do to people is repression. Like you want to make people screwed up, you want to make people unstable, you want to make our communities worse places to be. Let's repress people and tell them their bodies and thoughts and desires and minds are not their own.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it turns out freedom is not good for religion. So
right. Well, and they figure the converse is true, that if what you hate is freedom, then maybe you ought to have more religion just to stamp it out a little bit.
Oh, but they don't hate freedom. They want everything to be the most free. They want free speech absolutist, as long as you agree with them.
The most freedom, except for, unionizing Tesla workers and, college students who want to write op-eds criticizing U.S. foreign policy and teachers who want to talk about their, marriage to a person of the same gender. And, the most anti-freedom people waving the banner of freedom is what a rich thing.
The thing that baffles me with that is just how the people that support them don't see it. Like the boots on the ground right-wing people that you run across on Twitter who, 90% chance they're a bot.
Right. Well, this is like, why the bottom is going to fall out,
the 10% who
right?
aren't, it's like, how do they not see that, like, oh, yeah, no, I'm a free speech absolutist, but now we're not letting people into the country if they have bad posts about Trump on their social media?
It is. I think the bottom is going to fall out because ultimately, like, there were a lot of. I used to live in West Virginia, right? And so, like, I had a lot of friends there who voted for Trump, and like, we would talk about why. And like, what I heard from a lot of them was like, yeah, like, no, like, I don't hate gay people. Like, I don't hate. Like, I used to be able, like, we used to be able in this town to like graduate high school and get a living job, like a job that could support a family working in the mines, and now we can't do that, and he's promised to bring the jobs back and no one else has done it, but I think he can. And like that's the whole shtick. Like nobody, when you look at like Project 2025 and the plan for theocratic takeover of the US, 4% of people 4% of people in America support that when they're polled. Like all this junk he's doing now, even this anti-Christian bias commission that he established, 78% of people oppose it in the latest poll. Even a majority of Christians don't care about what he's doing on anti-Christian bias. They voted for him because he played a businessman on TV and they think he can put more money in their pocket and get them a better job. And when he can't do that, because he doesn't understand anything, there's going to be a bunch of people who are like, okay, well, what did I do all this for? Because it sure wasn't like to run a steamroller over separation of church and state.
Yeah. Actually, interesting that you bring up the mines. A number that I came across recently was... so that's something we hear a lot about in the election cycles is like, oh, these poor coal miners are going to be put out of a job if we go to green energy. But when you actually look at how many people work in the coal mining industry, there are more people that work on Broadway in New York City than everyone who works in the coal mining industry in all of the United States.
Right. And like, you want to know what's causing the decline in like coal mining jobs? It's not regulation by Democrats. It's the fact that more robots are mining coal now because, like, surprise, robots don't need health insurance, cheaper and arguably safer too to use them to mine the coal. And so, you know, you've got
if there's like if we need to have robots and computers taking over people's jobs, let's take over the people's jobs that are actually dangerous and harmful and nobody wants to do anyway.
Exactly. And like, you know, to be fair, like, let's lay some of the blame at the feet of Democrats, my people, right? Like, you know, part of why Democrats used to win West Virginia, and then Al Gore didn't go and campaign there, and so Bush won it in 2000 for the first time in generations, right? Like, we spent a lot of time functionally ignoring and like not coming and saying like, oh, like, what's our plan to help people when mining industry employment declines, right?
Yeah.
We just,
yeah.
you know, that the Democrats totally abdicated. And so I could understand people who, like, even though I disagreed with them voting for Trump and told them so, I could understand people who'd be like, well, you know, these guys frickin' failed me. So, you know, I don't, at the end of the day, I think they're overplaying their hand on church-state separation. I think even people who are religious do not think that it's like a good use of government funds to run a persecution campaign against atheists. Yeah. And I don't think most religious people believe that like they need government-sponsored promotion of their religion for it to matter. I think they're comfortable living in a country where they can pray and go do what they want, and we can, you know, sit on our stream and, you know, talk shit all we want.
Yeah, that's basically all I'm good for. It's okay. We got Cirrus out there, boots on the ground.
There you go, doing what we can.
All right. Well, we seem to be winding down. Is there anything else you want to touch on tonight?
No, I just to say, you know, watch the announcement of the Mahmoud v. Taylor case and pay special attention to how broad or narrow the ruling is, right? Because in the worst case scenario, they basically make it so that any parent can have a heckler's veto over the curriculum. They can just say, oh, you know, if this thing in any way contradicts a religious belief that I have, I get to pull my kid out of it, which could potentially be devastating for science education, could potentially be devastating for history, because like it's going to gum up the operations of schools if kids can get pulled in or out of class for any reason. So, you know, and let's be clear, the religious right here is not trying to make schools work for parents. Their goal is to try and delegitimize the public schools and make them inoperable because they don't want a public school system. They see the public school system as inherently fundamentally flawed because it was in large part created by a humanist, John Dewey, who also was one of the founders of the American Humanist Association. And so they're like, public school is rotten to the core because it has secular influence, and what we need is to destroy it, break the whole thing up, and give parents money to homeschool their kids at home or send them to religious private schools. And so, like, they are going to go all out to try and destroy public education in this country. We have to do what we can to hold the line. That's why we're not just doing this legal work, but why we've got a team of lobbyists that are trying to work to make sure that this big public school voucher giveaway in the reconciliation bill gets taken out of there, and why we're trying to organize humanists in every major city in America. So pay attention, stay woke, don't let this stuff pass you by, because they are trying to radically reform America in a short amount of time. But like, as we saw with this case in Ocala, as we saw with the Oklahoma case, as we've seen with other things, resistance matters, and it is working. It doesn't work every time, but on the whole, it's like we are getting more by showing up and fighting hard than by sitting home and doing nothing. So if folks want to learn more about what we're doing, or join our Discord, or like come to our conference or do any kind of humanist hangout things, AmericanHumanist.org is where you can find us.
Yeah, link is in the description on YouTube. Twitch, sorry, that's not how Twitch works. But yeah, the link is in the description for American Humanist Association. So thank you so much for joining me tonight, Fish. I really appreciate it. And have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, man. It was good to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Good night.